There are few things more powerful than people united. I'm probably going to murder the name, and I apologize, but that's from Veronika Tugaleva, I believe. But it's not the name that's important, it's the message. Welcome to the Opinionated Prepper. I'm Steve. And I think I have a running theme for the last few days. Bear with me. I was going to do part 2 of the Constitution and read Amendments 6 through 10 or 12 or 18. I don't know. But I don't think right now I can do it justice because my head is in a different place. You know, for the last few days, a whole lot of different channels and videos have been talking about, why are we afraid? We don't come from a feared people. We don't come from a fearful people or a scared people. We don't come from a bunch of weenies. Put it like that. People are just kind of fed up. Richmond, north of Richmond, blue collar anthem. People just being downright upset and fed up and don't want to take it anymore. And why are their lives so difficult when we see all of these hedonistic people that are living off of our blood, sweat, and tears? Pretty much what it is. If you follow me on Rumble, I had a little bit stronger message than this one will be. This has to be pretty vanilla. If you follow me on Locals, I gave some ideas on what we can do about it. You won't hear that so much on YouTube because YouTube has rules and restrictions. And since it is their platform, I live by those rules and restrictions. So I need to tone it down and I need to be vanilla. Nothing that I'm saying is establishing any type of rebellious nature, more or less. I believe in authority as long as it's not corrupt authority, and I believe in the rule and the letter of the law as long as it is expected to be followed by every single person. It has not been like that for the last few years. Spit on the sidewalk, you'll get a ticket, but it's okay for a whole bunch of people calling themselves civil citizens to light places on fire and destroy property that belongs to people that had absolutely nothing to do with the problem. There's 2, 3, 4, 5 sets and groups that live under different laws. We'll hold you to this degree, but we won't hold you to this degree. But since you don't have a whole lot of people behind you, you're going to be held to every standard and then some. Taking away the Equal Rights Acts from California, they started with the Civil Rights Act saying that everybody should be treated equal, not judged by the color of their skin. Now they're saying people need to be judged by the color of their skin so we can get rid of racism, which is the stupidest thing that I've heard in my life. But they were telling their police to let people of a certain skin color go and enforce it more heavily on people that are lighter skinned, which is crap. I don't like the way that things are going. I don't like the way that things are turning into. And I think there's a big consensus. And there are a lot of people like me. Well, what can we do about it? Well, we can join together. The one thing that they have that we don't seem to is unity. They will all join to make their voices louder when we just cower down, and the only thing that we are united in is being pushed around. I think that's shameful and pretty pitiful. But I digress. What do you think is causing this movement? Do you think it's the unjust and the unfairness being shown from an ex-president? And I'm not going to say whether he committed the crime or not, or to what degree, or what I believe, or anything like that. I'm going by logic, and I'm going by fairness and equality. When you have this person that nobody likes being persecuted, and you have this person that all the right people like, and he's a god, and him and his family get away with everything, it's not fair. It's not equal. When you see that we're not allowed to leave our houses or go to work, but they're having Met galas and parties, and they're going in to get their hair cut when we can't do that, it's unfair and it's not equal. When you see people with multi-million-dollar yachts and all of that, and they gained it through corruption and through twisting of the laws and through loopholes, and Trump was even good at that because he didn't pay his due taxes, and he says, because I'm smart. But yet us, who can't afford to have a team of accountants, have to pay what he didn't, because we can't afford to know those loopholes. That's unfair and unjust. It goes against the Constitution, and the Constitution now is a rallying cry and a dog whistle, but it's little more than toilet paper because nobody lives by it. They're trying to change it. They have changed it. They're trying to say it's worthless, when there's a lot of people like myself who live their life by it because they know how important that document is. But everything is unfair and unjust, and it seems like the poor and the downtrodden and the destitute are always subject to tyrannical laws, and we're stuck paying for everything because we don't have the energy or the drive or the money to be able to fight it and learn how to corrupt it. But you see, there's more of us than there are of them. We hold the power, maybe not one person, but a unified voice of 350 million people hold the power. And it's not just a national thing. How many times have you seen in the last 3, almost 4 years, that nations came together and one protest broke out into another and broke out into another? And I don't mean about the violence and the fires and all of that, because that's pure nonsense, and that puts us no better than them. But boycotting seems to work, at least from 1 or 2 companies. We're getting our point across. You know, speaking our voice seems to work. Rallying together, arm in arm, with like-minded people that are tired of it, and they have the bravery to stand up and say, persecuted or not, we will not be stepped on anymore, and this needs to change. You get enough people with a strong message, and things will change. I promise you. Now, I was given a few ideas over on Locals, and if this resonates with you, do me a favor. And I'm not doing this just for likes, and I'm not doing this just to gain popularity. It's something that I'm really, really hell-bent on. But if this resonates with you, if you're just tired of it, if you cannot stand it anymore, and you cannot tolerate the gods on earth and us mere mortals, if it's not right, and you're just, and you want to see righteousness prevail, spread the message a little bit. If you don't want to share what I have to say in my video, share my video. If you don't want to share my video because you think you're just monetarily helping me, then share the message that I'm bringing across. Like or don't like, subscribe or don't subscribe. If you don't like me, don't. But please don't disregard the message just because you think that I'd get a leg up if you wanted to help me. If you see these things, it resonates, it strikes a chord with you, follow me over to Rumble, because Rumble is freer. My rant is a little rantier, it's a little looser. Locals is very free, and it's posted in the free section, so you don't need to subscribe. And like I said, I don't really have a pay section going yet, because I want to feel like I deserve your money, and I don't deserve it as of yet. But this message deserves to be out there. I see many people echoing what I have, and it doesn't matter who it started with. I think it's a message, and it's a spiritual message, and it's a message that all of us are saying all at once because it needs to be done. People are worried about things coming. Winters are coming, and you need to be physically prepared for that. Poplar Report did a pretty extensive video about that just today. I suggest you go and see him. He did pretty good. Being an old boy from the north and living in the south, I know what it's like being prepared for the winter and not being prepared for the winter. There's a little story of a guy that I worked with when I worked in a freezer plant, driving forklift and flash freeze. Boy, it was cold. You know, he had on 4 or 5 pairs of socks on his boots, because that's the first thing to get cold when you're sitting your fat butt on a forklift. You don't have much circulation going. And after spending 20 or 30 minutes in the freezer, we'd have to go into the break room. We'd have to more or less take our shoes off and sit for about 30 minutes in front of a space heater, get circulation back to our feet. He got frostbit pretty bad, because even though his feet were warm for about a minute, they started to sweat. And he was minute after minute after minute after minute with wet socks, and they froze, and he got frostbite. And he's down here in the south, but he'd been working a couple of years there, so he should have known better. You know, it's just information that some of us have and some of us don't, and if we don't have it, we can pay a cost for it. So you might go over there and listen to what he has to say. He's pretty good about it. He talks about candles and all of that stuff, and using LEDs and blah blah blah. But he's talking about being really safe with candles. I agree with the being really safe with candles. I don't really agree the sentiment about don't use candles, don't use fires and stuff because they're dangerous. I think you should use them first, but I think you should really know what you're doing when you use them. But that's really the only thing that we differ. I don't like the idea of having to depend on batteries and depend on electricity and all that stuff, where he does. So I mean, to each his own. That little PSA for you. But moving back, you know, if there's so many of us that are making this blue collar national anthem go viral because we're just sick of what's going on, and there's so many of us that want to rally behind a guy that may or may not deserve it. I mean, it's on you. Like I said, my political opinions I'll keep to myself, but it's because we see the unfairness and the injustice going on. And while he's going through all of it, man-made or not, the one that's put in office right now is getting away with everything, and his son, through osmosis, gets to get away with everything. And while we're suffering, and while we're busting our butts and breaking our backs to just have a place over our heads, all of the income and all of the money and all of our time that we never get back is going to benefit these people. And while we're subject to their rule and their laws, and we're being greatly oppressed, they laugh at those laws because nobody dare go against them. I'm about fed up with that. It doesn't need to be. We've let it go way too far. So what are we doing about it? What can we do about it? Well, we can talk to each other. We can come up with a plan. Over on Locals, I was talking about right now, best time in the world to vote with your dollar, because dollars are drying up, the economy's slowing down, and people are grasping at every penny they can, including businesses. They want your money, and they're willing to do anything to get it, because right now they are desperate. Well, what happens when you get a hold of a CEO that's headquartered in a state that's being unjust to a man right now? You tell that CEO, or 90% of the customers that they have tells that CEO in unison, we will not patronize you anymore until you use some of your power to go to some of your lackeys and tell them to stop it. We vote with our dollars. Our dollars are our time. Our time we can never get back. It is the most precious thing on earth, our time. We're dedicating 95% of our time to making other people rich so we can barely scrape by. Some people have it better than others. Some people deserve it, others don't. I'm not telling you how to spend your money. I'm not telling you any of that stuff. But I'm telling you that it's our asset. Our voice, our numbers, and our time is our asset. That's what gives us the power. That's what gives us the power and the right to strip the power away from them. One thing I like talking about, Wolf of Wall Street, Matthew McConaughey, talking about, stuff, but I use it quite a bit. Their power isn't real. It's a facade. It doesn't exist. It's fairy dust. It's not real. They don't have power. The only power they have is power by proxy, because either we put them there or we don't say anything when they force themselves into that position of power. But if enough of us stand up and say, nope, you're done, that power goes away. They're left destitute, penniless, on the street, like many of our veterans who gave the sacrifice of their lives. They're discarded, they're thrown away, they can't get help from the country that they fought for. We're busy giving billions of dollars to a country that launders money for corrupt people when we can't even give $1,000 to the people who's paid in all of their lives, who are citizens of this country and deserve their money back because they're in a state of need. We're supposed to be there for them, but we're not, because all of our money is tied up in corruption overseas. It's infuriating, it's heartbreaking, and it's pure and utter nonsense. Like I said, if you like this, do me a favor, like and subscribe, share it, see if we can't do something. I am not going to use UPS. I'm not going to use Home Depot. I never really did use Home Depot. UPS, if I had things delivered, but I can get them delivered other ways. Not going to fly Delta. There's 40 headquarters, 100 businesses. You got to make a stand somewhere. Put a few signs out saying it's unjust and it's not right. Call a few congressmen. Get a few people in power to use their power to rally behind what is right and true and just. I don't know, maybe get a boycott going, maybe follow me, maybe come up with an idea yourself, start a channel, get it out on social media, make a rallying cry to start living the right way and start living for the way that the United States of America always was in the heart of every American. We're what made this nation great, and now this nation is spat upon and looked at as the devil by other nations because of what we allow our representatives to do and how they act and what they say. We need to start getting respect back, and in order to do that, we need to respect ourselves. So maybe let's start acting American again. Care for other people, Stand up for what's right. Stop pushing nastiness out on the whole world. But, as my name says, it's just my opinion. God willing, unless something happens, and unless I'm targeted, which, if you see my demise, it was a setup. I was framed. I'm 100% innocent. I have no bad, impure, or ill thoughts, and I don't think of doing myself in. So, and I'm also a very careful person, so accidents don't happen. If I don't show up one day, ask where's Waldo. But God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.